Hello, everybody. I am Reginald Bullock, and we're here with Trey, and this is Just Living Life. I hope you've been watching us and looking at some of the other episodes and learning. We have fun doing it, so we're glad that you're here joining us, and we're about to do it again. What's up, Trey?
What's up, Reggie? How's everything with you, man?
All's good in the hood, man.
Hey, I understand that. As always, well, actually, I was about to lie. It's not always good, but at least end of the day, though, I try to at least sleep peacefully, knowing that the day's going at least somewhat productive. There's always a nice little journey, always some progression forward. So, I mean, I I do got a question for you, though.
What?
I do got a question because we always just living, right? But I think on the last couple episodes we've been talking about
Just living life.
just living life. I'm sorry, you have to be right. And so we've been talking about a lot of good things, but I don't think people really been getting us. You know what I'm saying? Like the fun aspect. So I got a question, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, but this is gonna be addressed to Reggie.
Uh-oh.
What's your hobbies? Like what are your hobbies, bro? Like what do you typically do? What makes Reggie Reggie
I got,
outside of the work?
I got a lot of hobbies. I mean,
Number one, start with your favorite hobby all time.
fishing, hiking, camping, martial arts, DJing.
Now we on the indoors. Okay, I was about to say you like outdoors a lot. Nice.
Oh, yard work. We talking
No.
about yard work. Exploring, traveling the world, learning new cultures, cooking, being a chef, be it on different fires. Of course, shooting pool. A lot of people,
Billiards.
yeah, billiards. 9 ball, 6 ball, 8 ball, straight pool. I even played snooker when I was overseas. So I have lots of hobbies, man. I won't say I enjoy reading, but I enjoy learning.
Okay.
So I enjoy discovering. So that's a good question, my hobby. What about your hobbies?
I like to keep it simple. I like to keep it simple, Reggie.
Mhm.
Y'all can see the shirt, so y'all already know where I'm going with this. If it ain't sports, I ain't with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my morning, noon, and night.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah, it really is. But then outside of that too, I'm a big anime fan. Anime like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, all that good stuff. I actually did write my own anime, 5 seasons. I lost it. It was on a work computer. Stupid idea, by the way. You trying to keep your own work, do it on your own computer, please.
My second book is anime.
Really?
Yeah, The Horn and the Halo.
Oh yeah. I was saying,
Yeah.
like, but I want to have like a lot of action involved. Like it's like it would be about my life, but
Okay.
just kind of expressing what I've learned along the way, but put it in like an anime type form. So that's what anime is typically. So I mean, I just wanted to tell my own story, but like also it's cool to really look at anime, the action. I love that. I love TV and movies. By the way, I'm a big TV and movie type of guy.
So, do you recall some of the first anime?
When you say first animes,
I mean, I grew up on it, right? Speed Race.
so if you're talking about those, right? Then yeah, I watched that.
Yeah.
The
Speed Racer was anime.
wacky races,
Mhm.
you can consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all the good cartoons back in the day. Yeah, like Yogi Bear and them even. Like, I don't think that's anime, but like it ain't anime, but it's right up there. I mean, to be fair,
Prince Planet was anime. You probably don't even know what that is.
no, I've never heard of it. But I'm gonna say this though: if we can't say that, like like some cartoons are anime, then I don't know about Speed Racer. Then like, I don't know if I'm gonna call Speed Racer anime person. I might just call that cartoons. Because I did think of that as anime, but like, it is also like a weird.
Oh, you think Road Runner is anime? I mean, Coyote and all that.
I did actually. I don't know cartoons. Yeah. I didn't think Speed Racer. Like it was a difference for me between like say Speed Racer and something like a Gundam Wing or whatever the case may be.
Got it.
So, but I do get
Pokemon.
Pokemon is anime actually.
Okay.
Pokemon is, but I understand why people might think it's like a cartoon because it is like animes are cartoons, but cartoons aren't animes.
But some of the anime now, man, is lifelike. I mean, it makes it look real.
Yeah, no, they are, and like they are actually. Fun fact: they are actually coming out with live action TV shows too of previous animes.
Okay.
So like something like One Piece that's on Netflix now. It's actually a pretty good show too. Like not just the actual cartoon, like the anime, but the live action one as well too. So again, that's it's a nice little anime. I mean, a little hobby.
I mean, they did it with Spider-Man, right?
Spider-Man, like
Spider-Man was a comic.
Yeah.
It became anime.
Yeah.
And now it's live action.
Yeah. Same with Batman, all the superhero movies,
Yep.
you got TV shows. Yeah. So I mean, anything TV movie related, that's my passion. Like that, I
So
love
your hobbies are anime, sports,
TV, which kind of blends in anime too.
Okay.
I got to say, I like cooking to a degree too.
What do you cook?
So like I love salmon. I love cooking shrimp and eggs, Jamaican flavored shrimp and eggs too, by the way.
What's that?
So like you throw a little you throw some Jamaican spices on the shrimp,
Okay,
and mix it in with the eggs too. I do want to put some grits in there.
Okay. You don't mix the grits in it.
I would
You cook the grits separate.
Well, yeah, you cook the grits separate, but you eat them mixed.
Yeah. Kind of like shrimp and grits.
Exactly.
Got it.
But like just a random just random stuff. I don't want to make it sound like I'm a chef, but like I do like trying different things here and there. So
because you got a lot of people watching, right?
Few people watching,
and some people may want to try to connect up with you, and they want to make sure you know how to cook, right?
I mean, if y'all want to see what I can do in the kitchen, by all means, go ahead.
We'll do a show in the kitchen one day. Yeah, I'll do some collard greens and some whatever.
Okay. All right. We'll see what we can come up with.
So what we're gonna talk about today? So have we
hit that transition? You're so tired. Y'all been being transition. Shout out to Auntie out there too. But now, so we talked about change, right? We talked about hobbies. And I think hobbies can change. I put it for the record, but people, I don't know about that. But I think over at least the course of these videos, one thing we can say is words are very powerful. But like, how do you view power? Like the word power, is that more of an internal thing or is it more of an external thing? And again, for the recap, we've been talking about internal and external, forces. So in terms of power, I've heard that word a lot, whether in anime, whether in real life, whether in sports, whatever. External or internal for you, Reggie?
both?
Is there a leading candidate? Is there a leading, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's a...
No, I think that
yin and yang.
Well, sort of.
Okay.
So, for instance, the president of the United States, since we were talking about that, has power, right? So that's external.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it's internal. It also, and don't get me to talk about leadership, right? You can be a leader. I mean, you can have power and authority and not be a leader, right? And so that's a whole different discussion. I just wanted to put that out there.
Right.
Just because you have power don't mean you're a leader, right? But the point is, you can have power. There are, kings and folks that are in charge, and everybody's. I don't want to call them leaders because they're not all of them leaders. But the point is, they have power over people. They have power over resources. They have power over things because they have decision authority.
Okay.
All right. So when they have decision authority, a lot of times they also have power.
Now, when you say decision authority, because I know, you look at work-wise, right? You got the managers, you got your directors, your bosses. Well, who really has that power? Because I know the managers, and I know maybe it's tiers.
It is.
Power.
It is.
So,
I mean, people have power over other people's career, right?
But isn't that also top down and because I guess you can say...
I think it's more top down than it is bottom up, but bottom up does have power also.
Yeah, but I don't want the staffers to get,
No, staffers have power. I mean, they could, strike and not make automobiles. They could strike and not, write scripts for movies.
Yeah, or they could speak out about something that's actually some wrongdoing.
Right, they could blow that whistle.
Easy.
Yeah. So
you mentioned power, and I know you were talking about leaders, and I know we talked about leaders and managers before. So what sort of, I guess, power comes with leadership to you, and then what power comes with managerial? Because I think there is a benefit to, there is a beneficial power aspect to managers as well as leaders, even though leaders are few higher, for you at least.
So it depends on the position, right? Because a lot of times it's associated with the position or position description or levels of responsibility or budget. All of that kind of stuff determines the amount of power.
Right.
But what kind of power comes with leadership? Those are two separate things.
power and leadership are two separate things?
Oh yeah, leadership and power are two separate things.
Now I would think because again, if I'm leading people, that sounds like power. Like Kobe, Phil Jackson, going to sports. I got all those sports. They had power, whether it was them being they could be assholes to somebody. I'm not saying they were. I'm sure they were, but like, I'm not saying. I'm just saying they could have been, or they could have been influential people towards this team. I think they had power. So that's why I'm saying. Why do you say power and leadership aren't really?
The same.
Yeah.
So with leadership, it's a whole different mindset of taking care of people.
Mhm.
You know, when you are a leader, you also have a strategic vision.
Right.
You have a operational plan
Mhm.
that you're going to execute to achieve goals and objectives and things like that.
Okay.
Right. And so that's a leadership responsibility.
Right.
And that's what leaders should do.
Right.
Right. And so, for instance, when I'm coaching some of my clients, I remind them that that person who works for you has a spouse and children and mother, father, and family. And therefore, that household is being taken care of. Kids got to go to school. So you as a leader, you're responsible for that household, not just that employee. And if you don't feel that, and if you don't care, then what kind of leader are you? Now, power is a whole different mindset from that. Yeah. And so power, like I said before, it gets into, I mean, power is a word that to me kind of evolved to determine who is stronger or better than the other person, who has that level of strength or capability over somebody else. But leadership is not that.
Okay. Interesting. I guess I would view leadership as being viewed over somebody else too, because again, it's like it's levels to this
No,
essentially.
no. For instance, you have decentralized leadership,
Mhm.
you have servant leadership, you have transformational leadership, and then you also have leaders who are not necessarily the point person,
Mhm.
right? And so you could have folks that are followers,
When
but
you
they're
said
still
that point, when you said they're not the point person,
right.
what do
They're
you
not
mean?
in charge at
Yeah.
all, but they are informal leaders.
Why wouldn't that be a manager then? I guess.
You know, so you're putting titles on it. Leadership is responsibility, not a title.
Okay.
Leadership is being a leader and in leadership is a responsibility. It has nothing to do with manager or director or president. Or you would hope that they're leaders,
Mhm.
but they're just titles to fit a position description based on a classification of whatever the thing is that they have to do. That has nothing to do with leadership. Leadership is leadership. Leadership is the stuff that I talk about, and that's taking care of people.
Interesting. So, like when we're talking about again, going like talking about managers or leaders, I would think because managing would be a title, it sounds like leadership is something that's earned, right? So I guess I would view that more as like a power, if you will, right? Like when I think power, I think maybe, like, for example, like a superpower, right? Not everyone can have that. It's something unique, something special, like quirk, if you will. If you're My Hero Academia fan, shout out to the animators. Um, so like not everyone has that. So that's why I'm thinking like if a leadership could be viewed as power, it might not have to be one to one mapping, but I
It can be viewed as power.
yeah, and that okay. So you're saying it's not the exact same. And
Well, that's certainly not.
yeah, okay. So,
I
so
mean,
similar. I
a
guess you could
shirt is not the same as pants, but they can be viewed as clothes.
say. Yeah. So I guess I should have said okay. So they're not the exact same. Okay then.
Oh,
So
definitely not the exact. I mean, leadership is a whole. Look, I went. I, I enrolled for my PhD in leadership, right? So I've studied leadership. I talk about leadership. I'm a student of leadership, and I'm a leadership coach, certified international executive leadership coach. So when it comes to leadership, I'm not guessing at this. Right?
right.
And I deal with CEOs, directors, and presidents and whatnot. And so this is what I do for a living.
Okay.
So it is a distinction. And I don't want to be the guy that says, you know, leadership is authority or leadership is management. It's not.
Okay.
One of my leadership mantras that I tell people is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I can see that.
So when you see employees out there, do all employees care about their boss?
No.
Do the bosses care about the employees? The boss ain't a leader. Period. They're a manager. They got power. They're in charge. They have authority. They have a title, but they're not leading.
Okay. And see, kind of going back to that original question, we were saying like power. Is it internal or external for
Both.
you?
I think you said for me,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For you, you
it's
said
both.
both. For me, I feel like it's internal. The reason why I say that, we're always told you can be whatever you want to be.
Mhm.
Well, to me, I feel like that's coming from in here. That's coming from in here. So like my power comes from me. It's not from what society like. If I was basing it on society, what society was telling me I could be an athlete, could have been a rapper, could have been a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? Like my power says I can do whatever I wanted to do. So if I want to own my own TV network, I could. If I want to be a librarian, I could. Like
I
that's
agree
my
with
power.
you. I agree that part's internal. I mean, I train in martial arts. We have this thing called chi,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And then also train in qigong, right? And so that's an internal energy,
Yep.
and you've seen me
Mhm.
unleash my power. So I agree, and then even just that whole aura of who you are and what you bring into the room, right? That's power. That's the internal piece I think that you're
Right.
talking about, and that's why I say it's both, because I did give you kind of the distinction between the external power
Yeah.
and the internal power, and it's both, but they're not the same.
Yeah, no, it's not the same. I guess. Like, would you say one matters more than the other? 'Cause I guess my answer would be internal.
I would say the internal.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say like
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of times. I guess we put people on pedestals, and it's kind of funny how like when I look at a celebrity, I think they have immense power, not because they're a celebrity, but because like they have this large following, so they have the opportunity, the ability to speak to the masses. Like I was telling my friend, like
That's power. That's influence.
yeah, now like I was telling my friend, like bro, like we're put on this earth essentially to to make a change. Like life can get kind of mundane.
Is that why
get
we're put on
bogged
Earth?
down. I think it is.
Who told you that?
I mean, that's.
You came up with that on your own?
I mean, I know you and I have had conversations, but like, I also told you too, though. My why was to create change a little bit, like help somebody out. Y'all was making
Wait, back up. You said we're put on Earth to do what?
to make a change.
I thought you said there's no such thing as change.
No.
Did you say that?
Like in terms of like,
Not say that.
listen, I don't care if you internally change or not.
What did you call it? Adjusting?
Adaptation.
Adaptation. So
Adaptation.
we're put on Earth to help other people adapt. Dude, I told you contradicted yourself.
Adaptation. Like adaptation can be a change. Like you can make it internal, or you can make a change and it's external. I'm talking about that internal change. So like, so I'm sorry. So when I say change in this reference, I'm talking about the adaptation. It should be adaptation or a change, because that's dependent on the person. But from your vantage point, you've made someone quote unquote change. However, how they change,
you can't make a person change.
You influence somebody to change their decision.
They have to. It's all.
I said you influence.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That might be where. Okay.
Split the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess when it comes to power, then we both agree it's more so on the internal aspect than the external. How do you lose power then if it's internal?
So there are so many things that can cause stress, and stress causes physiological impact, and depression, and all kinds of different things where you just go down a road, and you go so far down the road that you're no longer here where you were,
right?
And you can lose your power. You can lose.
But it's internal.
You can lose. Yeah, but you can lose yourself.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? And that's my point. I'll put it out there. People commit suicide, right? And so, to some extent, they've lost something, and they've made a choice, right? And so, or they were looking for something. And I can't speak for all people who commit suicide, but my brother committed suicide. So, I've had to live with that all my life. But the point is that people sometimes do things, or external forces happen that just take you off your game.
That's real.
You know, divorce, man. I seen a lot of people go down a dark road as a result of divorce and just become a different person. They've changed, right? And you know, living out of their car now, right? And so it has a significant impact on their mindset, and as a result, you know, they're not the same person. Drugs can do the same thing to people, right? And so,
That's tough.
yeah.
Because I think drugs actually can. Drugs is one thing where I feel like you can change, but I feel like it's deteriorating you. So
What do you mean
deteriorating
you can change?
like in terms when you said like you can't, it will make you change. Like if you start doing drugs and you can get addicted,
Yeah.
I think it deteriorates you. So I hate saying that is a change because it technically is.
Call it
Like,
what you want.
yeah, I was gonna say it is a change. It's not that internal change I'm talking about, but again, it is a
But
change.
you had power.
That yeah.
You had power over a lot of things, and now you've given your power to
Right.
something else. You know, and that's the other thing. You can consciously decide to give your power to something or someone else.
Yeah, but just you. But
Bullying.
it sounds like it's easy to give it away though, right?
It can be for some people. I think it is. Like, you know, I watch this whole bullying thing, right? And it frustrates me because on one hand, we own our own brain.
Yeah.
And we can choose or not choose, but we can choose to not listen. We can choose to turn the radio off. Yeah. You could choose to not scream at the television and tell them to shoot the ball, and they can't hear you anyway. But you still screaming and telling them to shoot the ball, right? But so that's my point, right? We have all of these choices, but we give that power to the television. We give that power to someone else, and so therefore, when these kids are being bullied, right, they haven't been trained to control their brain yet,
right?
And someone else is already in control of their brain, in control of their power. They've taken their power from them. They've given it to them, somewhat not freely, but they've given their power away. And now they're being bullied and they're crying and they're, you know, doing all kinds of stuff, inflicting pain upon themselves, scared to go to school, yada, 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 because they feel powerless. You know, and this is one of the things I love being a leadership coach, because I get to help folks to find themselves and their power.
Okay.
And get it back.
Yeah, so then when you say find yourself, it's interesting because I feel like we're still seeking to figure out who we are at times, right? Like we talked about growing up, you know, 18, I still didn't think I didn't know who I was. Right. 18, and still in moments I'm like, I know, but I don't know. So like when do you feel like power is obtained? Because it's when you know yourself. And I feel like I had a good idea of myself growing up, but I'm like, nah, maybe not. And I think a lot of people do that time, like, feel that same way. So when do you feel like power is obtained?
So you always have it with you, right? You're born with it. You just don't know it.
Okay.
Or you don't know how to use it. You haven't mastered it. You haven't discovered it. There's a lot of things about yourself that you discover over time, but it was already there. You just discover it later or whenever. So to that point, some people may discover their power at 18 or at 28. Some people may be 58 years old and still haven't discovered their power. And so, but it's in you.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like that little light in a firefly. It's in you. You know, it's just in you. Your power is in you. Your neural pathways have the ability to fire off and create different new pathways. And therefore, that right there is from birth. The fact that you start learning how to crawl is creating different neural pathways. The fact that you can speak and say mommy and daddy and hello and put sentences into the spell, you're creating different neural pathways. And those neural pathways is the true source of your power.
So if that's true, then when we're talking about giving up your power, I feel like when we're talking about like building a foundation versus tearing it down, right? We're always told, you know, it's easy to tear down something, but it's very tough to build up something.
That's why people curse each other out so easily, and all the comedians making so much money at slamming people. But we don't have the same volume of people building people up. Look at all of the news. Man, I was looking at CNN and Fox, ABC, NBC today, just trying to see 10 minutes worth of buildup.
Mhm.
Something good. What am I listening to that's going to have some sort of value to my life from a positive standpoint? Zero.
It gets tough nowadays.
So you're right. Everybody wants to tear down.
Mhm.
And who's building, right?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the reason they're not is because they're incapable, in the sense that they've spent so much energy in their entire life tearing stuff down.
Mhm.
Their neural pathways, right? Their power to build is weak.
Yeah, it's also kind of boring watch stuff being built up. Like when you watch it from detail to detail, they might view it as boring. You might want to piecemeal it, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that was that. Oh, dang, it's coming up kind of nicely. Like I think
I
people
don't
like,
know.
I think people like seeing
I
that.
think I think Venus and Serena's dad enjoyed watching the building process.
He did because he was invested. Not everyone else is going to be invested, and that's why I was so like going to the power when you're saying it's easy to like you can give it away. I feel like if you're giving something away, it's hard to get it back. But like
What do you
also,
mean giving it?
so if I give my power away to like,
Oh,
you know
got
what
it.
I'm saying, give my power away to like, for example, drugs. All right, well that is tough. Like that's a hard demon to get over. That's what I've seen that. I'm not a person, but I've seen it. But then also thinking about it from well, if it is within you though, it should be kind of easy. It's almost like you know what I'm saying. It's like a flip of a switch. Like that sounds so casual. Like the click click. You know what I'm saying? Like that's. But I also know it's tough too. Like what's that main? Like why is it? Why does it
All
sound
right.
easy but not?
I know what you're trying to do, and I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
And so here's the deal. Assalamu alaikum barakatuh. Alik barakatah jim ha da. You don't know what I said, right? Or what if I said, bonjour, monsieur, comment allez-vous? Or comment está, right? And so the point is, these are just languages.
Mhm.
Every single language out there is spoken by a human being.
Mhm.
So therefore, it's in us. So if it's in us, then why don't you speak it, Trey?
I think it's learned though.
There you go. There you go.
But
Some things have to be trained. Some things have to be brought out.
so you think
You have the capability to do so much.
mm,
And that's what I said before. You already have it.
mm,
It just has to be brought out. You have to evolve. You have to learn it. You have to discover it.
right?
You have the ability to speak 10 languages.
Hmm.
Why don't you? Because you just never learned it. You didn't train. Nobody helped you.
Mm.
But yet there are other people 31 years old that can speak 10 languages. What's the difference between you and them?
They like to show off.
Okay, that's one way to tear them down. So what's another way to build them up?
Oh, I was trying to build myself up. I'm not tearing them down. That's all.
Okay, and so you build yourself up because you only speak one language, and you tear them down because they speak 10.
Again, I ain't tearing them down. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get slack.
But that's my point, is that there's a lot of things we can learn.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the continent of Russia
Mhm.
or China, or whatever, on the globe, it looks like they're bigger than Africa.
Mhm.
But the truth of it is, they designed it that way from an image perspective, so that everybody think that Africa's small and the rest of them are big. But the reality, if you actually measured the square footage or mileage from top to bottom, side to side,
Mhm.
Africa may be 3 times the size as all of them. And therefore, every picture we've seen is incorrect.
Mhm.
So now, what if you were trained wrong? So you could have power, and you were taught to use that power inappropriate. Did you give it away?
Not necessarily, because if you were, I guess, led with you were misled with information, then
And
I don't
that
think that's
happens
I don't think that's on
all
your
the
fault.
time.
Yeah, but so okay, so this let me ask you this because it kind of goes to a question again I had in the group chat. Words versus like humans and humans, right? So if let's use the Bible as an example. Bible's human is man-made, and I was told that like the Bible left out certain stories. So like that again, that's the story that I was told. But then someone else is saying, oh well, the way that humans and Christianity is portrayed is more so a human to human thing versus a human and tech issue, right?
Mhm.
So if we're classifying everything as like an issue, is are would you classify it as human versus human in terms of that being the issue, or does the text play in addition that even though it's a tool and
Right.
it's
So I'm
created
hoping
by man?
everybody following what you're
Yeah,
saying. But I would say that there's translation and transliteration
yeah.
over time from the different languages
Okay.
that have different meanings.
Okay.
So when you say human to human
Mhm.
and human to text, I mean, even the word Jesus Christ is probably not the word that was used back then,
Mhm.
right? And so, therefore, and then Christos, right?
Mhm.
What does that mean versus Jesus Christ, right? And
Mhm.
then cross, right? And so, to understand the origin of a word is important. But because most of us were illiterate, and most people were illiterate back then, scholars could do whatever they want to do and say whatever they want to say, and you believed it. Most people didn't read, they couldn't read, they could only listen to what was orated.
Yeah.
And so over the years, as things translated and transliterated, then of course changed different languages, right? The
Yeah.
Bible was written in one language and now it's written in all of them, right? And so there are different meanings. And I mean, we can get into that. That's a whole theological, academic, uh, literature type of
That's a
discussion.
different episode.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a different episode. Okay.
What was your point?
Well, no. So I guess my point is it? So like one person said that I know like humans, it's more of a human versus human issue if there's I guess if someone misinterpreted something. And I'm saying I don't think it's a human versus human issue. I think it's a human versus tool issue, similar to like do people kill people or do people kill people with guns? It's like something similar to that. So like someone was saying in terms of that, in
You
terms of
mean do guns kill people or do people kill
I mean,
people?
if guns could be or people could be. So it's like if you're hearing or you're getting told information,
Right.
is it is if the information is wrong, is that the text or is that the person that's at fault? Because the text was written by the person, but like, what if that person genuinely meant that information to be true?
I mean, it happens all the time, every day, right?
Right.
So, most of us do not prove the truth.
Hmm.
Like we listen to television and we call it news.
Yeah.
It's entertainment.
Hmm.
It's a lot of other stuff. Most of the times it's not news.
Right.
If it's really news, then why are they saying the same stuff every 20 minutes over and over and over again? Like, really? I can sit there and write your script. I can write your 7 bullet points that you're about to say and
Yeah.
come back 40 minutes later and it's the same 7 bullets and come back 2 out of the same 7
Some
bullets.
regurgitation.
That's not news. But if you don't know that,
Mm.
then you're being entertained
Yeah.
and you're listening to and believing everything that you hear because you've not been trained to go research what's important to you.
So I guess who's more at fault? The person receiving the information and not
I mean,
knowing
I'm
and not
not
doing the
blaming
due diligence?
anybody. It's
Well, I'm
fault for what? Why?
for not
Why?
knowing the correct information. I guess like if
Oh,
you're hearing information because we all have you. So let's say you know something and I don't.
mhm.
I mean, well, you took the time to know about it. So I guess like, is there any?
Some of it is trust, right?
Mhm.
So, am I at fault because I don't know this information to be true and I believed it and it's a lie and now I've done some things based on this lie? Or did I trust them?
Mhm.
And because I trusted them, they lied to me or violated the trust.
Mhm.
Because parents tell children stuff every day.
Yeah.
And everything that a parent tells a child is not always true.
Yeah.
Sometimes the parent knows it's not true. Most of the time, the parents don't know it's not true, but they're doing the best they can.
Mhm.
Later on, the child finds out that the information was false and they blame the parent for lying or didn't know, whatever, you did this, or whatever. The parent was only going on the information they had, right? So is the parent at fault for not getting the right information? Or did they trust that the information they was getting was right because they got it from their parent?
I would. I would say I would lean more. That's an interesting one. 'Cause I want to say to parents on one hand, you don't do your due diligence. Like I don't.
Dude, you hear yourself?
I do. I
You
do.
know, I never even knew the word due diligence was in my 30s.
Uh,
It wasn't even a word.
yeah.
We didn't know. I mean, anything you wanted to know, you had to go look it up in a dictionary.
But I guess are there
If
things?
everything that you research on Google and TikTok, all these other things, right? If all that stuff was not around
Mhm,
and everything you needed to know, you had to go first of all find some sort of book that had it.
mhm,
Read that book, another book, another book, and another book, just to come up with a sentence that Google gives you, just like that.
mhm,
It takes you 2 to 4 weeks to find that information. This is the environment I grew up in,
mm.
right? And if I wasn't comfortable going to a library, then all my information came from either the dictionary or the encyclopedia, right? Who was written text, to your point, right? And so, but that's it. That's my only source. You can't manifest information out of air and make it true. You're not the all seeing, all knowing of all things in the entire world. So the point is, how are you going to know something's true if you don't know it's not true? And where are you going to get the information from if the information doesn't exist?
Yeah. Like I get that point too. So
How did the people on the farm who couldn't read find out information?
mm,
My
so
uncle never made it past sixth grade. How's he supposed to teach me everything I'm supposed to know to be a
mm,
man if he can't read? But he's telling me all kinds of stuff.
but like you said too, though. So like I'm certain we know we see things that we want. We know somebody, or we see somebody who can do something that we want to do, and like you say, like with power, like stuff's I guess in us.
Okay.
Like how come we can't, I guess, find it within ourselves to like answer our own questions? Like, is that asking too much?
It is. I'm gonna tell you how to reach your arm out.
Reach my arm out.
Yeah, to me. All right. Touch my hand. No, no, you sit right there. Touch my hand.
Oh, and that's kind of.
You cannot go any further than you can go.
But I don't think that's built within me
It's
to
the
go
same thing
that
with your
far.
knowledge, right? You can't. You can only go based on your inputs. You can only reach the extension of your capability. So reach out again. You can only reach the extension of your capability, right? So can you recite the Pythagorean theory?
Used to actually,
All right. But most people can't.
yeah.
Right?
Like yeah, I get what you're saying. Though.
Yeah. And so the point is, if the input is not there, how are you saying that the output should happen?
It's like something. I know, like so some things you can't foresee, I guess, but like there are like a good amount of things I think we.
I mean, we can deduce with logic and all of that other kind of
Yeah,
stuff, but we can still only do that with the inputs that we have.
true. But I also know like sometimes we're told information and stuff doesn't necessarily sound right. Even I could be told something from a trustworthy person, and I no, that doesn't sound right.
You went to George Mason. What about somebody that never went to college, who graduated from high school by the skin of their teeth, who can't read? How are they going to qualify that information to be like, that doesn't sound right? They don't know.
Uh, So when I meet people who haven't gone to college or don't have like the best upbringing, I do think like common sense takes place.
Common sense is not common. Look at what's going on over there in Israel.
Yeah,
You saw what they did to those Israelis, right?
yeah.
Was that common sense?
No, that wasn't really the best course of action.
They're still bilateral primate creatures, human beings, just like we're talking about, right? Inputs and what they do, what's the right power, how they using their power, did they lose their power, are they utilize? And so we got to deal with the reality of everybody, right? Humans, as you put it. And so why are they thinking like that, right? To them, it's common sense. To them, we're going to annihilate this group of people because that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, who taught you that? You and I look at it as wrong, but they don't.
Right. I was say they view it as common sense.
As a matter of fact, some of the atrocities that they did, I mean, I could never have done nothing like that, right? I mean, killing those babies and things like that. And so the point is, and those people were just living life, and now they don't have a life anymore. By other people who took it, who felt it was okay to do that, right? So you got to look at all sides of the story when you're thinking about context or text, human versus human, and the logic element of what's right.
But I guess, yeah,
because I travel the world, and if I impose my American mindset on all these other cultures that I go to, I'm gonna find myself in a difficult situation.
Now, what if you had a structure like let's say your religion was telling you, or you were like reading and you were being informed, hey, you need to force your religion upon someone else.
Oh, if I was a Muslim, I need to make sure all Jews are dead.
Yeah.
If I'm a Jew,
now is that more so human versus human, or is that text versus human? Because again, human made the text, but the text is telling the people to do it, but the human still has to make that ultimate decision too, though.
So I think it's human.
It's human versus
because
human. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Saudi Arabia, and not everybody believes that. And if you read the Quran, it says one thing, and not to get into religion, but the point is, whatever it is that you actually do, you choose to carry out.
Okay.
And right or wrong, right? I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. What I'm saying is, whatever it is you do, you choose to carry that.
Okay. See, like I guess I was thinking, because again, going back to that, the child part, where like we're always evolving and growing, like up to like a certain point, though I give you some slack. I don't think children choose what they want to do, so that's the reason why
most don't. But we got a lot of little 6-year-olds killing people with guns. So what should we do with them? Give them slack?
Not necessarily.
They walk into somebody's house, bang, 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 bang. They 6 years old. They don't know better. They're just still trying to evolve.
Yeah.
They're still trying to adapt. They're not 18 yet.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that one? What do we do with that 6-year-old?
We might have to figure out an episode to record for that 6-year-old. That's because we're gonna have to show the people who he affected or she affected.
Because there are thousands of people out there whose lives are impacted based on the reality of things that happen to them.
Yeah.
And so, you can't just trivialize it by saying human versus text, because those people that are actually living the horrors of the actions of humans, in many cases, they don't give a damn whether it's human or text. They lost somebody.
Yeah, but I guess when I say text, it's more like the teachings that come along there, which I understand are again taught by men, but like they're written down, passed throughout history, like passed throughout generations.
You going back to the Bible?
No, I just meant in general.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I was saying, like in teachings. Well, I guess like religion would be an example. If I'm reading something, I'm following religion. I'm supposed to be following religion.
You're hoping that the text is correct, right? I have a book called The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And it's incredible and it's deep, but it doesn't mean that it's 100% factual and accurate, because it's a perspective.
Right.
I've written 4 books.
Right.
People may read my book and be like, this is awesome, Reg, man. I'm going to do all of this. All right. But this is my perspective.
Right.
I'm a human being who wrote the book.
Right.
So, yeah, on any given day, I could have wrote a different sentence.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's true. That's true. So I guess for me, I know we were talking about power. I know you said like you don't know what you don't know. You got to be exposed to things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess I also look at it too, like we kind of, if you really want something, you go for it. You're gonna do everything you can in your power to make sure you find that.
That's not true. I think that's true for some people.
If you really want something,
that's not a universal. No, there's so many people out there that are afraid to go after stuff. I mean, you ever had that girl that you wanted to go after and you just didn't do it because you just didn't do it, or did you do it every time that you thought about it. I mean, there's a lot of times where you hold yourself back based on nerves, based on lack of confidence, based on afraid of what that other person may say.
Yeah.
And that's that, right? And then going after a house or a car or whatever, right? You might sell yourself short. You talk yourself out of it, right? So you don't always go after what you want.
Okay. Okay. But like, if you don't go after what you want, do you really want it?
I don't know.
I think not. Like, that's just me. Like, that's what I'm been kind of deciding nowadays. Like, if so, to your point, like, if let's say you're out and about and you see a nice young lady or whatever the case could be, and you don't approach that person, I don't think you really wanted that person then. Like, and if you're really shy, then
maybe you're not ready.
That too, but I
don't mean that you don't want the person. It just means you're not ready. So you may have to spend the next couple of years to get ready.
See, I feel like we going like you. I don't know. Maybe this is just me, so maybe that's the reason why I'm so passionate about this. But like, I feel like if I really truly
passionate about this, what's the this that you're passionate?
Like, in terms of just like, if I find some just relationships.
Okay.
If I find somebody where I know this, that, and the third, I'm going to approach them. Like, there's not going to be any anxious. I do get anxious. Like, I do wonder, if I do get rejected, like, who watching? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody looking, all right, cool. Like, there's that aspect that I do worry about sometimes. There's certain people that was like, no, I really want to talk to this person. I really want to get to know this person.
But you have that capability and that character and that
I didn't always, though. I did not always.
And when you didn't have it, did you still approach him?
I did surprise myself a couple times.
Yeah,
but not all the time.
Right, and that's my point.
But I at least wanted to find out how to improve that aspect, though.
And that's what I'm saying at the same time. You still may want them, but you may not be ready yet. You got to go do a few things. You got to lose a few pounds, right? You got to do a few push-ups, or you got to get your head right, or whatever, right? You got to let this girl go so you can get this. You know what I mean? So all of those dynamics play into. Do you just act upon it?
Okay. I got you. Well, I mean, that was about all the topics I had personally.
All right.
Yeah, I was about to say, I ain't know.
This was an interesting one.
It was.
So recap. What did we talk about?
Well, we talked about hobbies. I think that kind of also brought us into how are we living too, because it told us about what we like to do. Then, let's see here. We talked about power. But before we talked about that, well, what else?
Change.
I don't know about that. You sure we changed? We talked about change?
Yeah, you talked about change. He talked about change.
Maybe I'm forgetting. My bad. I'm getting old nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. No, we talked about that. But yeah, so no, we talked about change and then we ended off with power. I think that was a good little segment, though.
Yeah.
And again, if y'all haven't been watching, all these episodes do kind of build on top of one another, because we talked about building and expanding foundation. We didn't talk about intelligence and hustle. Oh, we talked about hustle, not intelligence.
But we talked about intelligence and hustle in a different episode.
Oh yeah, I just meant on this episode. We didn't, like, everything builds and expands upon one another. We're not talking about all the episodes,
right?
But we will reference other ones. So I hope y'all are enjoying that. Even Reggie said something about cutting grass, and you saw my reaction is still.
Yard work. You're gonna do one day. You're gonna change. You're gonna move your arm.
I'm gonna adapt. Though. There's one change. I promise. There's one thing I will keep from youth to adulthood is I don't like yard work.
All right,
I don't. But I mean,
there's always tomorrow.
Not do yard work. But I think that's the perfect time, though, to end the segment. We can skip flowers today because you were talking about yard work too much. Not too close to yard work. I don't like flowers enough that much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a good one. But please, before you do that, hit that like button, subscribe. Tell anybody who's anyone about the show. If you want to leave a comment or two, we appreciate that. My name is Trey. This is Reggie. And you listen to Just Living Life. So I hope you all have a good one. Take care.
All right.